All right, if you're just joining us, we're gonna give it 1 minute. This is a panel with our current students. Just give us 1 more minute to get more people to attend, and then we'll get started. Thank you. All right, we're going to get started. Thank you so much for joining Scripps College on our current student panel. I am joined by three students here. Eleanor will be our moderator, so I'll pass it over to you.
Hi, everyone. Welcome, Scripps fans, to the Scripps student panel. We're so excited you could be here with us today. We have Francis and Maya, who are both here to answer your questions and have a little chill chat with me that you get to listen to and learn about Scripps. So please, if you have any questions, just drop them in the chat and we'll get to them. And with that, enjoy. I'll start asking these guys some questions. So my first question, we'll just kind of start out fun and easy. Tell me about a day in your life. Let's start with Maya.
So usually I'll wake up somewhere between 7 and 9:30, depending on if I do my homework in the morning or not. And then I go to my first class, which is Arabic, at 10, and that goes from 10 to 10:50. Typically language classes are around 50 minutes long, at the lower levels. And then once you get past the I guess 2-year language mark, then it gets to a normal class time. And then I'll have either my astronomy class or my slow theory class, where we just are focusing on one piece of political theory. And that goes from 11 to 12:15. That's the typical, an hour and 15 minutes is very typical for a Scripps class. And they typically meet twice a week. And then usually I'll have lunch after that. And then in the afternoon on Tuesdays and Thursdays, I'll go to my contemporary Middle East class. And then later in the day, I might go to my Arabic conversation tables. Sometimes I'll have a tour for admissions. But that's typically what my school day looks like. So.
And Francis, day in Francis's life.
My day is somewhat freakishly similar. I also wake up from I'm maybe not 7, maybe from 8 to 9:30. And I'm lucky this semester I have a Monday-Wednesday schedule, so I'll go through a Monday/Wednesday. But I have class, another hour and 15 class. My first class is Early Modern Outsiders. I'm an English major, so it's for my English requirement, and it's a pre-1800s British lit class, but it's I was not looking forward to it. I was I've never enjoyed Shakespeare, never really been taught him. I'm not interested. And it's actually probably one of my best discussion classes I've ever had, to the best, perhaps. I really, really like that class. So that goes till 10:50, and then I have a break between 10:50 and 1:15. Usually I'll definitely either head to the Motley or to the dining hall after my class. I get lunch early because Malat, our dining hall at Scripps, is so packed at 12 that I will go at 11 or 1, but I will not go at 12. So I usually go at 11. And then I'll go back to my room, and if I cleaned it that morning, it will be clean and I will sit there and do something productive. And if I didn't, I'll usually clean my room and be ready for the day. And then at 1:15, I go to my creative writing class. That's another hour and 15. So I go until 2:30. And then I'll have on Mondays a 3-hour poetry seminar. And that's called Verse Engineering. And it's with this really cool visiting poet. And she's like one of the Yale younger poets and like has a lot of really cool stuff to her name. And that's a poetry workshop. So we like write poetry and then like between ourselves, we critique it as well as like talking about ways to revise and improve. So that's a fun class as well. And then this week, what my week is looking like is I'm going to Scripps Voice production then from basically when I have dinner to 10 p.m. because like the 3 days leading up to submitting for print, which is the Scripps Voice is our newspaper on campus, we do like 5-hour productions every night. So we really bang that one out. But then like typically if I don't have production, I'll hang out with friends. On Monday nights, they do Motley Trivia sometimes. So we've been doing that. That's at like 8 p.m. But just having fun.
Awesome. Classic days in the life. And let's talk a little bit about academics. Could you each tell me about a class that you've taken here that's like had the biggest impact on you so far, either academically or personally? We'll start with Maya again, since Francis, you were just talking for a long time. We'll give you a break.
Yeah, so I would say that it was probably my freshman year. I took this intro to political theory class. And I'm a politics and Middle East and North Africa studies major, by the way. And it was really impactful because like it completely changed the way that I thought about what could be considered political theory. Like we didn't go through like the classic canon of like reading like Marx and Engels and like all of those like dead white guys. Like we only read contemporary works written by people of color or queer people, and it was a lot about like lived experience and things like you wouldn't necessarily like. We read Assata Shakur's autobiography, which like you wouldn't necessarily consider political theory at first, but it like definitely is. And so just being in that class like really, I guess, like laid the groundwork for like how I'm considering my major and like what I think about what I'm studying. So, and the professor for it he was like amazing. So
Awesome. Yo, what's up, Leo? And I just realized moderator party foul. I totally forgot to ask our wonderful panelists to introduce themselves. So we'll quickly do that, and this is perfect because Leo has just joined. So Francis, Maya, and then Leo, you'll go next. Would you please introduce yourself? Francis, please go ahead. Tell us your name, year here at Scripps, major, and then maybe a little bit about what you do on campus or a fun fact.
My name is Francis. I am an English major, Spanish minor. And outside of Scripps, I use she, her pronouns. I'm a sophomore. I don't know if I said that already. I'm from Fullerton, California, which is like near Disneyland, if people sort of know where that is. And outside of admissions, working for admissions, I'm a part of Res Life, which is like the residential housing stuff on campus. I am a RC, which is like the equivalent somewhat of an RA at either campus, but it's slightly different. And I'm also a part of the Scripps Voice, which is our newspaper on campus, and probably my biggest commitment, as you guys could tell from my day in my life.
hi everyone, I'm Maya. I'm a junior from Seattle, majoring in politics and Middle East and North Africa studies. Some things I do on campus other than admissions are WATU-AC, which is our Black Student Union, and then sometimes I go to the Prison Abolition Club. Not so much this semester, but sometimes. So.
And Leo?
My name is Jonathan or Leo, whichever one I use, they them pronouns. I'm a sophomore at Scripps. I'm a politics and American studies dual major. Outside of admissions, I'm on the Model UN team, and that's probably my biggest like extracurricular commitment. Outside of that, sometimes I also pull up to some of the Asian American sponsor club meetings when I have time and when I have someone who can take me. But outside of that, that's kind of all that I have. A fun fact is I have a cat on campus and he's very fat.
Amazing. And hey everyone, I'm your moderator. I'm Eleanor. I'm a senior here at Scripps, pronoun she, her. I'm originally from New Mexico, and here on campus, I'm dual majoring in philosophy and media studies. And I run the satire paper on campus, and I sing in a rock band here. So that's me, but I'm just asking the questions today. Anyways, so if you remember where we were, I had just asked to anyone who just joined into Leo, what class you've taken here that's had the biggest impact on you, either academically or personally. And Maya just answered, so now we'll have Francis answer, and then Leo, you're up next.
For me, I think it was also a freshman year class, and for somewhat similar reasons to Maya, like it helped me sort of figure out where I wanted to go academically. But I took a lit class with a visiting professor again at CMC, and it was Southern Black Writers, and it was just so good. And before taking that class, I was going to be a biology major, and I was pre-med and was very focused on that. And I took that class and I was like, oh my gosh, literature is so fun. It was like a 3-hour seminar once weekly, and we just would read a book before each class, and it was just book club. It was really wonderful, but book club, but academic book club. We were talking about really interesting stuff, but it was just so enjoyable, and just really made me I need to be an English major. And then I was an English major that was pre-med, and then I dropped the pre-med, and now I'm just an English major. So how wonderful.
That's so sick. Like a class good enough to change your major. That's amazing.
Exactly. It was so good.
Awesome. And we'll switch up the order a little. Oh, wait, no, Leo's next.
Yeah. Mine was also a similar scenario, but it was the first semester of my freshman year. It was a class called Race, Violence, and the Law. I came into college thinking I really wanted to do psychology and anthropology. And this class kind of swayed me to be a politics major, which is what I am now. It was a great class. I think it helped me understand more what I want out of college, what type of education I want, and also the professor who taught it is now my major advisor. So it's probably that one.
Awesome. So great stories, you guys. This is so fun to hear. I'm getting all emo. Awesome. And so let's talk now a little bit about extracurriculars and non-class things. Oh wait, nope. Quick pause on that. We've got a question in the chat. It says, is there a limit to how many courses outside of Scripps a student can take, especially for freshmen? Anyone want to jump in and answer that?
I can. Sorry, Maya, I saw you unmuted too, but no, there are no limits by the Scripps registrar or anything. We can take as many classes as we want off campus, but there are different specifications based on your major. Sometimes I think the English major, it's 6 of the required 12 courses for the major have to be taken at Scripps. So there's a certain amount, but typically you're going to take classes in your major at Scripps. It would be pretty uncommon. So I haven't really felt disturbed by that in any way. I take a lot of classes off the 5 Cs.
And if anyone has anything to add, feel free to hop in. Beautiful. Okay, awesome. So then back to the extracurriculars question. So, guys, tell me a little bit more about the clubs you're involved in, and specifically, can you talk about the club fair? That's something we have every year here at the 5 Cs. You could talk about maybe how you found clubs through it, or the way your club participated in the fair this year. Let's start this time with Leah.
Putting me a little bit on the spot over there. Was not expecting that order switch up, but I'm happy to do so. I actually found out about the Model UN Club at the club fair, so that's how I got to know them a little bit more, and then I tried out. Extracurriculars are pretty easy to get involved with. They usually will be tabling at the club fair. Club fair is just they're on the lawn. It's every club you can think of at the 5 Cs. They'll just have a table there and they'll just talk to you about their club. Sometimes they'll give out goodies if they have any. It's super chill. I can talk a little bit more about my extracurriculars that I'm in. I'm in Model UN, and so I wanted a way to travel while in college, but I wasn't about to spend my own money to do that. And so Model UN has been a great opportunity because all of like our travel expenses, food stipends, everything is covered by the colleges, the 4C team at the Claremont colleges. And they get to travel East Coast, West Coast, a bunch of different places. They also have like the debate union here on campus, which I think they actually get to travel internationally, which I'm a little jealous of. But there's a bunch of different opportunities to kind of get to know people. For me, I take most of my classes at Scripps. I love Scripps classes personally, and so for me, a lot of my friends that I've met off at the other four colleges, I've actually met them through these extracurriculars and clubs. Because a lot of them are usually, unless the Scripps club, are usually going to be 5C or 4C. And so it's a great way to meet people. It's usually pretty low key. And I've not had any intense experiences or been like, oh my God, stressing about a club meeting. It's all very lax.
Awesome. And before we move on, we've got one question in the chat specifically for Leo about Model UN. And anonymous attendee wants to know, is it hard to join Model UN if you have no previous experience with it?
Yeah, I joined Model UN with no previous experience. I wouldn't say it's super terrible. I think when they're scouting, the Model UN team is 4C, so it's Scripps, Pomona, Pitzer, and Harvey Mudd. CMC has their own team. They don't want to associate with us, which is fine. We're all still friends, which is great. Tryouts are pretty easy. It's like a simulation of what a Model UN trial would kind of look like, what a conference kind of looks like. They're usually just gauging for potential. And so they're seeing like with training, how good could you get? And also like, would you get along with the team? Because the team is very social. We hang out together a lot. We travel together. So we spent a lot of time together against our will, in confined spaces. And so they're trying to see would you get along with the rest of the team. And so a lot of it's just like kind of checking your vibe. Is this going to be something that you're actually going to enjoy being a part of? Our team is not very competitive. Like they place well, and they're good, but it's not a very competitive atmosphere, which I personally really like. So I wouldn't say it's terribly difficult. I think it's like, it just depends. Like it's competitive in that a lot of people do try out, but not competitive as in it's like a cutthroat process. They're just kind of seeing what would work. And also it's important to keep in mind that like the reason everyone doesn't get on the team is not because they're not good enough. It's because there's like budget constraints. And so when people join, it's like, how many people can we actually take on a lot of these conferences, because you have to pay to go to conferences. I mean, the school has to pay for you to go to conferences. And so kind of seeing like, do we have the budget to take on these many people? Because we try to expand our team and increase the number of people we take every year. But at the end of the day, it comes down to budgets, and that's dependent on like the student council and like whoever we're getting funding from. And so a bunch of different things, but hopefully we get more money so we can take more people, and hopefully one of those people is you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Leo. And so now we'll go back to the question from before, which is about the club fair, activities were involved around campus, and how your club participated in the club fair. Let's hear from Maya.
Yeah, so I go to Watuwasi, and like most of the affinity groups, it meets like once a week. Typically there's like an activity, like some nights there'll be like paint nights or just things like that. There's also like a shuttle that will take us to there's like a Black Flea in LA every month it happens, and sometimes Watuwasi will actually just like organize a shuttle for us to all go. And then the other clubs that I kind of like attend occasionally, like the Prizab Club, and then Student Justice for Palestine will that are more like focused around organizing, will typically meet once a week as like a big group, and then once a week in smaller kind of working groups. That's like typically how those clubs work. I don't really have that much experience with the club fair, but just to speak on like how many different like clubs we have at Scripps. I like literally tell this story on all of my tours. It's so like just overtold. But last semester I was doing my homework outside at Pomona because all of the colleges are very close to each other. And I heard this like beautiful like music, and I was like, wow, this is like amazing. Like I have this beautiful music while I'm doing my work. And then I go over to like check it out and like see what it was. And it was the Irish folk music ensemble. So there's
I
like
love
always,
those guys.
yeah, it's like so random, but it's like it's so the music is incredible. So yeah, we just have like a ton of clubs that like you would never even think of.
A brief interjection from me, the moderator, so Francis, is that at the club fair, my satire paper was next to the Taylor Swift fan club and the Irish folk music club, and it was like the greatest arrangement of clubs ever. Anyways, sorry. Now back to Francis for answering the actual question at hand.
Yes. My biggest extracurricular is definitely the Scripps Voice, and I actually have a paper right here. Oh wait, I'll turn off the like background.
If you hold it really close to the camera, it shouldn't be a problem. Oh, that works too.
Bam. Okay.
Also, my grandparents were visiting this weekend and they read your article and they really liked it. So
That makes me so happy. So I am a front page article and I'm very proud of it, and everyone should go read it on the Scripps Voice website. But that being said, we do not, and I also saw a question in the chat about trying out for most clubs. I'd say for the most part, no, you don't have to try out. There are definitely clubs that you do, especially a lot of like the pre-professional clubs, you have to like do some sort of application process. But for like a general club, I've found that I've never had to try out for anything. To become a copy editor at the Scripps Voice, I had to do like an interview, but that wasn't the same. So I'd say for the most part, no, I don't find it competitive to get into clubs. And then I was also just going to talk about the Scripps Voice. I'm just very proud of us. Like we're a smaller like newspaper on campus. We're a print newspaper, and we meet like once every 2 weeks, and we do like little brainstorming meetings where we like talk about all the current events, news, different things that are going on, and we all like assign each other articles. You sort of just get to choose what you want to write about, which is another really nice part about being a part of the Scripps Voice, is like you could literally be like, oh, I just really want to talk about like, I don't know, Taylor Swift's new album, and like you could write the op-ed about that if you wanted to, or like about, even you could write an op-ed about like Scripps students' reactions to the Taylor Swift album, whatever. Like there's just whatever you have an opinion on, you can write about it. And same with news or events and stuff like that, which I really enjoy. Yeah. I was also going to say, just to somewhat answer the question about what does Action for Palestine look like on campus, there is like Students for Justice for Palestine, as well as Pomona Divest from Apartheid groups, and they both do a lot for like advocating for Palestine. We're also like, through the Scripps Voice, this article is somewhat about advocacy and an alumni solidarity petition. So there's been advocacy there as well as a lot of pushback. And then Pomona Divest from Apartheid had like a big protest on April 5th in response to like their posters getting taken down. And in the end, about 20, or I think it was 19 students were arrested by Pomona College calling like the Claremont and like local other police departments, and they like came in and arrested students in Alexander Hall. It was very scary, I would say, and pretty shocking. And I'm writing an article about it. Will be out on Friday. So more Scripps Voice stuff as well.
Let's go journalism and student activism. We don't want to scare anyone. Obviously, it's a pretty serious world event. But that's just what's been going on these campuses, so we want to keep it real. Alrighty, so moving on to some other questions. We've got a whole bunch of stuff going on in the chat. And so the first one we've got, what is your favorite thing to do in the Southern California area? And so for these ones, just we got so many, we'll kind of like rapid fire, just have like one person answer them. So let's go, Leo. What's your favorite thing to do in the SoCal area?
I love to go to concerts.
Good answer, short and sweet. That's beautiful. Concerts are awesome. Okay. And then next question, do you have cars? And if not, how do you get around? Does anyone here have a car? Can you raise your hand? Okay, awesome. If you don't have a car, Maya, how do you get around?
So usually, like, this isn't like a real statistic. This is just based off of my like informal ethnographies, but typically there's like 2 cars per friend group. And so like I usually like I have a Costco membership and my friend has a car. So usually like we'll go together and we're kind of a power duo. But like usually if there's somewhere that I want to go, one of my friends with a car will also want to go. So like I've never found that like I feel like stranded on campus. And they like the Mount Baldy is actually like only like a 20-minute drive away. So like my like freshman year, I think we like for my birthday, we went to go like hike to this waterfall there and it was super close. So there's a lot of like, nature that's around, and then like LA is obviously like a 50-minute drive. I mean, with traffic, it can really vary. So there's a lot of accessible places, even though Claremont itself is a pretty small town.
And I'll add that we get a free bus pass from the library for the entire Foothill area. And I'm a big fan of the free bus pass, even though I have a car, because I'm a public transportation defender till the day I die. And it goes like all the way from like San Bernardino to like the cusp of Orange County. So like it's pretty far reaching. You can get pretty far. Also right now, I guess like the Metrolink, the like California Metrolink is doing a student deal and you can take the Metrolink for free with like a student account. So that's very nice. And we have a Metrolink station in Claremont and you can get to LA like in like 45, 50 minutes through that. And I'm a big fan of the Metrolink. I take it every time I go into LA, even though I have a car, because the traffic is so hellish sometimes. It's just not worth it to do that. And so I'll just take public transportation.
Real, true and beautiful. Next question, is there any difficulty in getting into courses outside of Scripps? By my rotation, we have Leo up next. Would you say but you said you take a lot of Scripps classes, yeah?
I've
You're
taken
muted.
this. I'm taking most of my I think it's pretty easy. My freshman year, I was like, oh, I want to take classes with the other campuses. I took a lot of classes at Pomona and Pitzer, and even as a freshman, it was really easy to get into classes. I think intro classes are the hardest ones to get into because there's just so many people vying for that spot. But even then, I think if you just send them an email and you perm and you just show up to the first day of class, I haven't had any problems. I'm taking half of my classes off campus next semester, so even though I love Scripps classes, I'm not doing myself justice, but it's okay. Um, I'd say it's like pretty easy. It's not difficult whatsoever. Professors aren't like gonna be like, ah, the Scripps kid wants to be in my class. It's pretty easy, and like conversely, there's a bunch of non-Scripps people in classes usually as well. So it's like, yep.
Lit. Okay. The next question is, what was your favorite class so far? We did answer that earlier. Sorry for anyone who joined after we answered it. But are you guys, the panelists, are you able to like access the Q&A and like answer things?
Yeah, I can
if you
type
guys-
it.
Yeah, would you just like shoot them a quick, like, here's what it was? And then, so next we have, what is one thing you wish you could change at Scripps, Maya?
Well, actually, I have 2. But I would change like more diversity. I feel like that's something that I would definitely love to see. Like, I think being a part of a consortium makes it really nice because even though all of the schools are PWIs and like the percentage is smaller because there's 5 different schools, the actual number of people is bigger. So that's nice, but like we still need more people of color here. And then the second, I would say like the administration's like response to student action, like in the Motley, our student coffee house. There's actually been like administrative like censorship of a lot of the like posters that have gone up in there. So I would just say that like, like a little bit more collaboration and understanding from admins.
I was unmuted that whole time. Awesome. Thank you, Maya. And then let's see, we have, how easy is it to get an internship or job? Francis?
I'd say if you make the effort, you can definitely find the opportunities. We have CPNR, which is like our career planning and resources office. It's literally like steps from where Eleanor is in the Motley. It's very,
You're
very
so awesome.
yeah, it's a really nice office. You can go in whenever, make an appointment, and they have like full-time staff as well as like peer mentors who can help you like not only with just like finding an internship or a job, but also with like applying, cover letters, interview practice, your resume. One of my like closest friends, she was a peer mentor, and I came in, and this would only happen if you were friends with the person. This is a joking story, but I like come in with my resume to do my like work with her, and she's like, Francis, you're never getting a job with this resume, like you need to fix it. But we fixed it all up. It's beautiful now, and I've gotten jobs and internships since then, so life is good. Yeah, they do a lot of work with like Handshake and also with like local like places that hire, and like Handshake's like a website you can go on for job listings, sort of like Indeed almost, but for like just the 5Cs. So there's a ton of job listings and internships on there, and I'm doing an internship over this summer through like finding it on Handshake. So works great.
I know it isn't my turn, but can I add something
Please,
to
go right
that?
ahead.
So also like because we're such a small school, I feel like our relationships like with our professors are really like helpful in terms of getting different opportunities. Like last year, my major advisor like reached out to all the politics majors and was like, hey, like the mayor wants help with his reelection campaign. And so I was able to actually like be involved in his reelection campaign to the city council through that opportunity. So yeah.
So awesome. CPNR, amazing. Love them. Really incredible career opportunities here at Scripps College. The alum network is like just dreamy. You know, we all went here, so it's like Scripps solidarity. Okay, anyways. So, next question is that can we major in a major at a different 5C school? Does it mean that people are still getting degrees from their own 5C school? I believe next up we have Leo.
Yes, I'm majoring at Scripps, but I have a lot of friends that major off campus. It's pretty easy. The only difference is that you're gonna have an academic advisor at Scripps who's gonna make sure that you get all your Scripps requirements, and a major advisor at the host college, so one of the other 4 colleges wherever you end up majoring. Basically the major advisor at that host college, you're gonna default to the major requirements at that college, so they're gonna make sure that you're meeting them. You still graduate with a Scripps degree, you'll have that major on your degree. It's like pretty easy and very painless. I think the most famous off-campus major is EA non-science track, EA being environmental analysis, because Scripps only has the science track, and so usually people will do different tracks to the different colleges. Obviously, if there's a major offered at Scripps, you cannot cross major at the other campuses. You should and will be taking that major on campus, not as a threat, but just, because it's already there.
Awesome. And is anyone here majoring off campus? Just, yeah, chill. Me either. But like Leo said, super chill and normal and easy if Scripps doesn't offer your major, but for the most part, we got you covered. Okay, so that's it for our questions from the chat. Feel free to keep them coming. And for now, we're gonna go back to just sort of like chatting about the panelists' lives here. Let's see. Oh, okay. A question for my little list that I think is really fun and cute is, are you doing similar activities to what you did in high school? And is there something you're doing now that would surprise high school you? Let's start with Francis.
I did yearbook in high school, so that was sort of a similar journey to journalism, to like a newspaper instead in college. But that being said, I was very much like unsure of what I wanted my major to be, or like what I was really like wanted to do, like period. I felt like in high school, like I was like, well, I could do anything, but I want to be pre-med, I think, and I feel like since coming to college, I've found that like I've really like dug into my identity a little deeper, like figured out like really what like makes me happy and like what like you can enjoy different things, but like what is gonna like give you the most joy has been like very much a learning process here. And I think like I would, as a high schooler, be just really happy with how like I've really found ways to like make almost all aspects of my life like something that I can find like joy from. And then also I'd just say the best like change from high school to college is the like amount of freedom you have, autonomy, like the ability, like I was like, whoa, like I can just like walk to a cafe whenever I want and just sit down and do my homework. Like that's crazy. And it sounds dumb, but it's like you don't have to get in a car. You just walk 5 minutes, you're to the next place. It's like really a joy to be able to like have so much free will, I guess, especially with like shorter classes, like less time spent in classes. You have so much more like choice to like do different things with your day or like organize your days how you like them instead of like having to be at school by 8 a.m. and leaving by 4, like you have a lot more time in your day to like find ways to enjoy your life, which I really enjoy.
Awesome, thank you. And then we'll go to Maya. Sorry, you're in the middle again. I'll try and switch up the order again.
You're good. Wait, was this like something we didn't expect coming from high school to college, or can you repeat the question again? Sorry.
Yes, sorry. So it's if you're doing similar things to what you did in high school, and if you're doing anything now that's like that would surprise high school you.
I guess I'm kind of surprised that like I'm doing the same thing. Like in high school, I actually was in Model UN and got really interested in like studying the Middle East further because I feel like there's a lot of really like it was just something that I found very fascinating and important to me. And so now I'm in college and I'm studying politics and Middle East and North Africa studies, which is like the same as what I was interested in. And usually I feel like I kind of will have like one interest one week and then one interest the next. So I'm like, wow, like I can't believe I've stuck with this for so long. And then I guess I was also kind of surprised that I even ended up at a women's college because I had gone to an all-girls high school. So I was not, I didn't want to be in like all like women and marginalized gender identity spaces for 8 years and then like go out into the real world and like discover misogyny and have to like learn how to deal with it quickly. But being a part of a consortium, like there are co-ed opportunities, and I've really loved being a part of a women's college so much that sometimes I think that I might have even wanted to go to like just a women's college, which is crazy to think. So
Awesome. And Leo.
Hi. Um, I did speech and debate in high school. Shocker. The style of speech and debate that I did was like very fast paced. There was like policy debate and like in Douglas, if anyone has done speech and debate before. So it was like very fast paced, a lot of like information cramming. And I think high school we would be surprised that I hate that type of consumption of literature now. I think it's not the best. And so I think that's like something that's been a little different. I think like going from speech and debate to Model UN in high school is pretty predictable and makes a lot of sense. And I think it's like me doing the same thing, but now I like talk funnier. So that hasn't really changed that much. In high school, I had like a weird myriad of interests. Like for a period of time, I really wanted to do political science. And I was like, oh my God, political science is so cool. I want to be a politician. Ugh, ew. And then for a second I was like, oh my God, anthropology. And then I was like, I actually don't know what that is at all. So I'm just saying stuff at this point. And so I think I'm shocked that well, I'm not shocked about being a politics major. I am shocked about being an American studies major. I think me in high school would not see that for me. American studies, for those of you who don't know, it's not like rah like USA. It's looking at the US through an ethnic studies lens. So it's really cool. I really like it. Um, but I think just like the way that I consume literature and the way that I learn now is very different from how I did that in high school. Um, and I think I have a lot more free time in college than I did in high school, which is like weird to say out loud because like when everyone was talking to me about college, the way that they talked about it was like you have zero free time or like high school's so much easier than college. And then I got to college and like it's hard. It's like tough at times, but I have a lot more free time and I have a lot more freedom and I can actually do things that I enjoy, which has been like really nice. As Francis said, like I can walk to a cafe. My parents were fairly strict, so for me it was like I'm like free, but yeah.
Awesome. Okay, sort of a fun little question, is how did you make your friends? Start with Francis again.
This is a great question because I have a plug once again. I want people to join the Summer Science Immersion Program. It's like a pre-orientation program. It's like a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks before like official freshman orientation happens. And it's put on through Keck, which is our like science department at Scripps. We have like a intercollegiate science department. So it's between Scripps and Pitzer as of next year. And it runs for 2 weeks. You do like all the first labs. You go to like the Getty or the Griffith Observatory, actually not the Getty, and like lots of different like fun events. And it's like usually like a small group of like 20 students. And I got to do that. And I made like my two closest friends through that program. And it was really great. It's for students who are underrepresented in science or from under-resourced like high schools or areas for science. And it just is a really, 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 really great program. I couldn't recommend it enough. So I just want to plug that. And then also just through like classes, I feel like you meet a lot of people just by like sitting down next to them and like chatting, and then suddenly like you're friends. So I find that to be where I make the most friends otherwise, is just like, you know, I go into most of my classes without friends in them. So I'm like always very excited to just meet people in my classes, like ask them if they want to go to lunch after class, whatever like that. Like it's pretty easy to do that as well. And through Res Life, being an RC, I've met so many wonderful people, or like gotten closer with wonderful people too. So clubs.
Wonderful. Friendship is beautiful. Maya, how did you make your friends?
Most of my friends I made like during orientation week, actually. Like it just so happened that like all of us would like eat meals at like the same time. So because of that, we just kind of like merged a friend group out of that. But I'm like a junior, as I mentioned earlier, but and typically students, like I think it's like 60% of the junior class will study abroad at some time in their junior year. Usually it's in the spring. And my like main friend group, all of them are gone except for one of my friends. So I've had to actually branch out and make a lot of new friends this semester. And I've done that through like classes, like Francis has mentioned, and then just like I feel like it's so easy to talk to anyone here. Like everyone is so friendly that I feel like I'm like always making friends in a way. So yeah.
That's so true about the just easy to make friends, like always accidentally meeting people. That's also, I haven't heard that really before with the like most of your friends from the orientation group. So like definitely like if you don't meet all your best friends in the orientation group, like don't sweat it. But also you might, so that's awesome.
Yeah, I made the surprised face because I was like an orientation friend group that actually made it out of orientation, which
It's
is
fragmented. It's not like it wasn't like the same original group, but
all love. Oh, no, that was me. And no, you're good. And then finally, Leo, how'd you make your friends?
Hello. Oh, sorry, I was just testing my mic. How do I make my friends? I kind of went insane on Instagram like a few months before we all got to campus. And so everybody in the class of 2026, if they posted a story and I followed them, I did swipe up and I did try to start conversation. And as everyone has mentioned, everyone is really nice. And so everyone did entertain my questions. And I think that's how I met a lot of my friends. It's just by like, yeah, I think we definitely did DM Francis. Like, I think that did happen. Um, But yeah, I think most of them I just reached out to people. And like not everyone that I talked to I ended up meeting up with. I think a lot of people I just met as I took classes. Most of my friends, I think I met in like my res hall when I was like living on campus. So like my roommates, even though we're not living together, super good friends with them. And then like I meet people through them. And I'm a big yapper, if you guys cannot tell, and I would talk a lot. And when I was in the res halls, I was a little bit loud, and that's how I met a lot of people. Was because I talked way too much, and then they were like, "What are y'all talking about?" And then they would just join in conversation. That's kind of how I became friends with Eleanor. It was like last semester at a party, and I just started talking, and Eleanor was like, "What is going on?" And that's how we became friends. And now I bother Eleanor at the Motley every time I see her. And so that's how I make most of my friends. I think I also probably just started talking to Francis at some point at admissions, just like yapping. And I would consider Francis my friend. I hope Francis considers me a friend as well. Oh, this is beautiful. I'm so happy. Same with Maya. I just start talking, and then it's like, wow, these people are really cool. It's not difficult. You just have to yap or be yapped at. It's pretty easy, I would say. Or join clubs.
That's so, because when you were telling that story, I did remember. I think it wasn't at a party. I think it was in the dorm kitchen at 4 a.m. And I was writing a final paper and I was coming to like make some popcorn and you were there making mac and cheese bites, something like
I was
that.
not mac and cheese bites. You were making mac and cheese bites. I was with my friend and I
Oh.
was crying about a test I had or a paper that I had to write.
Classic. Molly Ox just got crazy. Okay, anyways, next question. Let's see. Maybe we could do like a quick poll from participants. We have some categories. We've got campus life, academics, research, and imposter syndrome, among other things. Any sort of like college topics you'd like to hear about? Drop it in the Q&A or in the chat in the next sort of like 15-ish seconds. Bum, 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 ba-da-da-da-da-dum, bum. Oh, let's go. We got something. Let's go. Okay, Rose wants to hear about imposter syndrome. Okay. Perfect. Let me go pull one of those questions. Okay, great. Yeah. So describe the feeling of getting into college, and when you got to campus. How are you feeling? How are you feeling that first week on campus? Let's start with Maya.
When I got in, I was like very excited. I think because I have gone to like predominantly like white institutions since like 7th grade. There's always been like a lingering imposter syndrome, but I always like shove it like back and just try to like push forward. So I was like just excited when I got in, and then when I got to campus, I definitely like it for some reason, even though like I went to like an all girls boarding school and that was like majority white, for some reason I like really struggled adjusting. And I think I just needed to like reach out to like my community at home. So I did that and got like a lot of reassurance. And then I think just like feeling that like lack of diversity, something that like I did to like proactively like create that like experience for myself, because that I think was where I was feeling a lot of like, I guess just isolation or alienation is a better word, but I studied abroad my sophomore spring in Morocco, and then like next fall I'll be in Jordan. So like there's definitely like ways to like, if you are feeling that like, oh, like there's not a lot of like people of color here, to kind of like, make that happen for yourself.
Awesome. Thank you. And let's go to Leo next. Tell us about getting into Scripps and then arriving on campus. Oh, where was your head at? How are you feeling?
Yeah. I think when I first got into Scripps, I was super excited. The college process had been very stressful. I think it's stressful for everybody. And so it was like kind of a relief to get into like any school, but like this was a school that was pretty high up on my list, so I was like pretty happy. And like in high school, when I was in high school, with that decision, I was like, okay, I'm so excited, like I'm gonna go to college. And then I got to campus and I did not realize I was gonna be such a big baby without my parents. I cried a lot. I missed my siblings a lot. I went to a pretty white high school as well. But what helped me was the fact that I had so many of my cousins like fairly like near me. And so like it was like 8 hours of my day was like very white. But then the rest of my day, like I was just like surrounded by other South Asian people, like other cousins or just like other people of color because most of my friends were students of color. And so I was able to kind of like I always had that little community, but I think it's different when I went to school in Texas. And so when you're out of state, it's a little different because it's like you don't have like a community that you can always go home to. It's like you're living and you're studying on like a white campus. So I think that experience was always a little bit jarring. And I think the first few months I really, really struggled with that. Um, because it just felt like I couldn't really find my own footing for a while. Because it's very different to go to a white high school and then come back home to your family that's not white, and then be able to spend time on the weekends with just people of color and just like family members that are, not white or cousins and stuff. And so it was like a pretty big shift because it's like I was always trying to conform, and conform to what I'm still not entirely sure. I didn't really know what I wanted to do or like who I was. And so like, because you're like freshly 18 and then you're tossed into this brand new environment where you don't have a lot of like, I don't know, like the same experiences that you have at home. So that was like pretty difficult. And I think also everyone at Scripps is very smart. Everyone at the other four colleges is very smart. And I remember being on Bowling Green and having a breakdown in front of my friends. Not breakdown like crying, breakdown like stressed. Because I was just going, guys, I haven't cured cancer and I have not started a Fortune 5 company. I don't know what the hell I'm doing here. I fear I'm not cut out for this. And they were like, you take a few deep breaths. You need to relax a little bit. And this all happened because I was in a class called Techno Orientalism. I did drop it after that one day. And this class specifically looked at futurism and how like the Asian body is kind of represented in science fiction. And I had a lot of Pomona students in that class, and we all went around and we said what we did that summer. And I just saw family over the summer. I visited family that I hadn't, who's abroad, who I hadn't seen in like years. And everyone else had helped in a convention or done something very pre-professional or had an internship. And I kind of like stressed out. I was like, oh my God, I'm not going to be employed after college. I fear like I don't know what I'm doing. So it was definitely difficult. And I think it took a lot of time for me to realize like there's a reason why I'm on campus. And it's not always going to make sense. And I think a lot of college is just like a luck of the draw. But you're here, and regardless of why or how you got here, you have, as much of you deserve to be here as much as everybody else. And just because you're not doing something that's like considered by the university as like miraculous, contributing to your community in meaningful ways, whether that be by being present or just showing up for people, is like more than enough. So just like realizing that.
And there's a lot to be said for just like the novelty of learning about other people's cool stuff. Like they probably think you do amazing stuff too when you just don't think about yourself that way because you're just used to the cool stuff you do. So Leo, you're feeling mostly better now, right? Like it's all good.
It's like a little politics. Yes, I'm a lot better now. I'll have a cat
Yeah.
now. That's like made my life better.
Yeah. I don't know. That's classic college imposter syndrome, but you're in this awesome community for a reason. And then Francis, this question to you as well.
Yes, and I won't talk too long about it, especially because I don't have the experience of not being white at a predominantly white institution. But I will say, like, going into college, like, I was a very strong student in high school, and I never really anticipated feeling like any sort of imposter syndrome or like a I'm not as good as the people around me, but I can sort of speak to coming from like a under-resourced high school or like a Title I high school. And I did feel like very like I think I was used to my class settings being more casual and more like, put your effort in, but it wasn't as like formal. And I think that was a really hard learning curve for me. I used to always like speak in class a ton in high school, and probably for all of first semester, like I did not talk in class in my freshman year because I felt like, wow, everyone just knows how to talk so eloquently about all these different things. And I think now I've sort of let that go, like let go that like insecurity of saying something that like other people are gonna think are dumb or isn't worded right. I think that's a really hard thing to deal with, and also something that is somewhat intrinsic to maybe more marginalized communities. Like the fact that you feel like what you have to say has to be perfect is not something that should be, especially in an educational setting where we're all like trying out different things. And I found like all my professors really empower me to like, and I think like students in general, to be confident in their feelings and also to be like open to change and like open to not being perfect. And I think that was a big difference for me that was challenging upon coming here. But that being said, I think my professor always gets mad at us if I'm like, oh, it's just like a half-formed thought. My professor will be like, you guys go to a historically women's college for a reason. Speak, like, don't preface. And I'm like, okay, but it's good. It's a fun vibe. So yeah.
Awesome. And so I feel like sort of general vibe from panelists, like you get here and it can be a lot for a lot of reasons, but that's sort of just arriving at college. And it sounds like everyone here really found their community and found ways to fit in and make their life here. And it sounds like it's been good for everyone. There's just one last question I want to answer from the Q&A. I feel like it's a good way to close out the webinar, which is, how did you decide on Scripps as your final choice? So let's start with Maya.
Yeah, so I was deciding between like Scripps, another college in like a different consortium, and then like a college like in like our consortium. And I realized that like being in a consortium was like an opportunity that like I really wanted to take advantage of. But then I like also realized that I would only have like one opportunity to go to like a women's college, and so that like I could, like have all the benefits of a women's college, but then like still be able to cherry pick the things that I didn't want. And then something, I guess, like to that point that like really kind of swayed me over was that one of my teachers had gone to Bryn Mawr and was telling me that just being a part of like the historically women's college network, that like people who have gone to different women's colleges will reach out and like just are so excited and will be like really, like welcome to giving you opportunities and like various things like that. And I've already like experienced that, even though I'm not an alumni yet. Like I was applying for this grant, and I got an email from like the person, and he was like, oh, my wife went to a women's college. Like, that is so great that you go to Scripps. And it's just like, I think that that's something that like I really value and appreciate about it here.
Awesome. And then let's go to Leo.
Yeah, deciding on a college. It was definitely like a weird process. I think like for so long I was just like so scared that I wasn't gonna get in anywhere. I never really thought about deciding on something. So when that time came, I was kind of like very, very confused. I think what played a pretty big role in my decision was the consortium. And also like I'd kind of been talking to people who'd already committed to certain schools in the 5Cs. And so like talking to them also kind of played a role. And these were not admissions ambassadors. These were just like people in my grade. So current like at that time, seniors in high school, just like me, who had already committed to schools in the consortium. And so being in touch with them and kind of talking to them about their reasons also kind of helped me, because there's a reason they chose to go ED. And so I wanted to know like kind of what their thinking was. And I think just like, I don't know, people being so open to sharing and talking, and that's how I made a lot of my friends as well. Like did really help. And also I was very skeptical of a women's college. I went to like a Texas public school that was co-ed. A women's college was like not something that I'd ever thought about. Scripps was the only historically women's college that I applied to. And for me, it was like very much like, okay, like I really need to think about this. If this is actually what I want to do. And I think the fact that you get to be in an area with 4 other colleges and you can use their resources, but still have a women's college feel was something that I valued a lot. I also wanted to study in Southern California and not in Texas. Did not like Texas that much. And so Scripps just stood out to me in that way. Sorry, I guess I don't have anything very profound to add to this. It was very much just like a gut decision.
I think Eleanor might be frozen, but I can go ahead. For me, I think I was deciding between here and a large university, so it was pretty challenging to figure out what I like, how to compare them. And when I did like admitted student stays at both schools, I found that Scripps had a lot more like resources per student to like invest in us. And I also felt like there were a lot of opportunities that I'd be able to like access like from my first year versus having to like what we were talking about with like applying for every club or like, you know, having to compete for different classes and stuff. I feel like being a part of a small liberal arts college and also the like group of the 5 colleges, there's so many opportunities, like you're basically swimming in them. And also like everything is almost like one person away. Like if you need to get into a class so bad, you just email that person and like hope that they say yes, you know. And I feel like usually they do. Like people here are really supportive, and I think that was what spoke to me and what made me like really think like, yes, I am going to go to Scripps. And I think also the thing that I wish I thought about was the consortium. Like the consortium is such a important aspect of Scripps to me now, and I didn't really think about it beforehand, but like having the course offerings of 4 other small liberal arts colleges as well as this one is so helpful, as well as just like professors with different knowledge areas and like all this different stuff. There's just so many opportunities and resources between the 5 colleges that I feel like I've made the right decision. Like I'm very happy that like what I was sort of feeling out when I went to those admitted student stays was very true. And I feel like also just the historically women's college, I feel like students here are really like driven, passionate, engaged, interesting. And I think I really appreciate that. Like the types of conversations I have here are just so enjoyable and like fun, and everyone is good to be around. And I really like that.
Alrighty, awesome. Well, that is our time, and that concludes our panel. Thank you so much again to all of our fantastic panelists for joining us today. Maya, Jeanette, or Leo, as I've been calling them, and Francis. And thank you all so much for hanging out with us. We hope we gave you a good picture of life at Scripps College, and we really hope to see you in the fall. Congratulations on getting in, and have a wonderful rest of your afternoon. Bye, everyone.